So, can everyone stand up? We're going to do the open web stretch. So let's reach up for all your open source hopes and dreams. You're going to reach down to the grassroots. I'm going to come up slowly, and then we're going to sway in the winds of change. Let's reach out. You're going to shake the money tree. Now we're going to lean left to avoid the NSA. And lean right to avoid the NSA. Lean all around to avoid the NSA. All right, everyone, good work. Take a seat. I really like that, and I like you getting all limber for listening to Ethics and Code. So to start, hi, I'm Abby. I'm not a robot. I really like this GIF of a robot pretending to be human. You guessed it, yay. But I run the open source engagement work at the Mozilla Foundation. And I want to start by, speaking of robots that are pretending to be humans, we are talking about ethics and code today. I want to start by telling you a little bit about my story and why I care about ethics. So I have a background studying computer science and bioinformatics. And I started my career working at the Ontario Institute for Cancer Research in the Mars building. And I really loved that job. I was making software for scientists. And my grandmother had actually passed away from cancer, so that was really meaningful to me, the idea that I was helping someone else's grandma, someone else's family. But the longer I was in academia, the more I realized how often people sometimes fudge their data a little bit, or like hide their data sets. They do that just so that they have better results and better looking results to get published. So they do this at the expense of real innovation. So I think that when we don't stand behind the facts that we're presenting in the world, we're really hindering innovation, what we can be doing as a society. So that's what we're going to talk about today. That's actually why I came to Mozilla, because they have this Mozilla Science program, which really cares about open science, which I think is a start to really fixing some of science right now. So talking about ethics, this is a definition from the Oxford Dictionaries. The ethics are moral principles that govern a person's behavior or the conducting of an activity. And if you look at ethics right now in code, it's actually like the lack of it that's really making the news nowadays. So we have fake news here with Facebook. Facebook's failure did fake news polarize politics and get Trump elected. The idea that algorithms were promoting certain news stories that weren't unethical. Machine learning and human bias. There's a lot of bias in machine learning, especially with facial detection things right now. They don't see certain races or they classify them as not human. That's a big problem today. And then anytime we have machines making decisions for us in real life, there's self-driving cars. How will self-driving cars make life or death decisions? So we have all these stories today, but what's really concerning to me is this attitude that we sort of see where people think it's not our job to figure out whether or not something is right. So this guy, Jim Adler, he wrote a program that predicts someone's likelihood to commit a felony. And when someone asked him, is it right to have a program that does this? And he said it's not our job to figure out if it's right or not. We often don't know. I think that's a dangerous attitude to have if you're writing software. Again, this idea of moving fast and breaking things, which I think is often really good, being able to prototype and iterate. But then they asked a Facebook employee about the fake news stuff going on. And he said, we started out in a dorm. I mean, come on, we're Facebook. We never intended to deal with this. So I don't know. People just generally think that, our job is to build things, is to do what we're told to, what the project manager tells us to. It's not our job to figure out if it's right. But it's not what we see in all other professions. So today we have, doctors have the Hippocratic Oath, which essentially boils down to do no harm. And they're supposed to be taking care of their patients and helping them. Lawyers get called to the bar, which often has an ethical review board. And then even engineers. I know some of us, is anyone here a software engineer? Cool, do you have a ring?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. The software engineering got rings at my school. Computer science did not. I know. But the idea with the iron ring, and actually when I was researching this, I found out that this was a false, this is not how the iron ring started, but this is how I heard that it started, where a bridge collapsed in Quebec or somewhere. I can't remember. But then they're wearing a ring to remind them that like the structures we build affect real humans and affect people. But apparently that's not really how it started, but it's a good story.
Great story.
Yeah, it's a great story. Yeah, I don't know what the real story is, but yeah, engineers wear this iron ring to remind themselves that they're building things in the real world that affect people, but computer engineers don't always do that, or software engineers maybe. Yeah. Oh, that was a difference. Computer engineering got the ring. Software engineering did not. I got that wrong. Okay. And yeah, we don't have this in code. And I think that we should be part of the conversation for that. Right now, there's this idea that we shouldn't, like, we're the ones building the things. We shouldn't be in charge of, is this right or not? But we often have more understanding of the context of what's going on with everything to know if it will hurt someone or if it does have any consequences down the road. So I think it's really important that we join this conversation. So where can you join this conversation today? There's a few things. This one's kind of fun. It's from MIT. They have this moral machine. So there are a lot of ethics being raised around the idea of self-driving cars. So they actually are trying to crowdsource people's answers to tough questions, tough moral and ethical questions, so that it can help the cars make good decisions. So here you have a car, it can't brake. So it will either run into two pedestrians, one of which is holding a money bag and a mask, so I think he's a thief. The other one is a woman who looks to be on a run, jogging. Or she's chasing after the thief, I can't tell. Or you run into the wall and then you kill the two people in the car. So you're choosing between these two things. Fun exercise. Let's vote today. How many of you would run into the two pedestrians? And how many would run into the wall?
I refuse to answer this question.
And yeah, a lot of you refuse to answer. That's fine.
You're just going to run in the side barrier and slow down everything? The car?
I guess, but you won't help the crowdsourced data for this experiment.
False yes or no question.
Yeah.
Because also ultimately the self-driving car manufacturers are going to want to say we'll always prioritize the driver, or else nobody's going to buy that car.
That's true. So what they're trying to do is, if you were a driver, which one would you do? And then help that self-driving car make a similar decision as a crowdsourced population would. Maybe not what you specifically would. So that's the idea behind it, trying to make better choices than just preserving the driver. But it's really, yeah.
It's still fun because it doesn't answer questions of why, if we have cars that can do this, we wouldn't completely re-envision the model of how we have roads in the first place.
Yeah. I think this is for that transition period, maybe. That's true. So you can go here to the moral machine and answer these tough questions. You can do that too. Another group that's doing interesting work, I think, yeah, probably more interesting work than this. There's FatML, which stands for the Fairness, Accountability, and Transparency in Machine Learning. So they're actually soliciting feedback on their guidelines right now. So they're putting together guidelines on what makes a fair, accountable, and transparent machine learning algorithm. So they have these 5 things: responsibility, explainability, accuracy, auditability, and fairness. Which, yeah, so for responsibility, making sure that there's someone external from the code that's responsible for this. You can't just say, oh, the machine did that or the algorithm did that. Like, someone wrote this and then made that decision. So someone is accountable for that. So I think that's kind of what's missing in today's culture. The second part with explainability, making sure that you can understand what the algorithm's doing and people understand like what data is being fed into it to know like which decision it makes. Next is accuracy, making sure it logs any errors and also the uncertainty. That way you can plan for like the worst case scenario. And then auditability, a third party can come in and audit your algorithm. And then fairness, so making sure that the decisions it makes doesn't cause any discriminatory actions or unjustly impacts any demographic. So I'm trying to read at the same time. It's not working super well. But yeah, making sure it doesn't do anything like that for certain races or sexes. And there's a lot of places where you can like do data for good today, or yeah, do good with technology. So here's a few of them. I like Data for Good because they're also here in Toronto. They're the Canadian arm of DataKind. I think I've hosted one of their meetups. But DataKind, they harness the power of data science for humanity. Data Refuge was really big during the transition period of the US administration, where they basically just took all the climate and environmental data and put it in databases all around the world. And then there's also Tech Solidarity, which is a grassroots organization to help connect tech workers with their communities. And I work for Mozilla. We'll talk about that a bit later. I think we're also doing good things with data and code. But there is a code of ethics for computer scientists today. And I did want to walk through it. ACM has an interesting one. So first one is contribute to society and human well-being. So that's really similar to the Hippocratic Oath with do no harm. Avoid harm to others. Actually, that's probably closer to do no harm. Has the word in it. Be honest and trustworthy. Make sure you're honest about what you're making. And then these last two, I think, I'll show them both. Oh, wait, I skipped one. OK, wait. Give proper credit for intellectual property, so don't steal someone's things. But then these last two, respecting the privacy of others and honor confidentiality. Privacy and security is a big topic in today's world. So making sure you are trusting the privacy of the people that, like your users. If you're getting their data, yeah, know what you have. That's valuable information. So now I want to talk to you a little bit about why I went to open science after this ethical problem was posed. And I do think that openness is a step towards being ethical, like one strategy towards being more ethical. It's not, you can be open and unethical at the same time. But I think it does help, especially in science. That's what I found. So we have a definition for working open at Mozilla, which is it's public and participatory. So this requires structuring efforts so that outsiders can meaningfully participate and become insiders as appropriate. So the idea is that the code or the project is public. Anyone can see what's going on. They can see the guts and the code underneath. But it's also participatory. That means anyone can come along and also add to it. They can change what's going on. They can make things their own. So in an open project, where did all my words go? Oh, that's weird. I added like 5 slides with no words on it in the middle. But you can see things like who did what. So there's that responsibility almost. They do still have to take responsibility for writing the code, I think. But you can see who wrote that line of code or who created that algorithm. The source code is available. So it's auditable. It's reproducible. Someone else can come along and run the same thing. This is big in science, where reproducibility in science is a big issue right now. And it's also inviting. If you are like working open the way Mozilla defines it, if you are working in a way where other people can understand what's going on and also contribute to it, that means it's explainable. People understand what's going on in that algorithm and what data is being used. So if you remember those FatML definitions, those 3 were from there. What is missing, though, is the fairness and accuracy. So making sure that people, yeah, you are logging errors and you are logging uncertainty, and also that your algorithms are being fair. They're not discriminating against anyone. They're not being unjust. So I think it's a step towards ethics, ethical work. So that's why I care a lot about openness. It's hard to hide things if you're being open. Definitions. Okay, so at Mozilla, our mission is to ensure the internet is a global public resource, open and accessible to all. And yeah, that's really where Mozilla and Firefox came from. If you remember back in the 90s with the browser wars, Internet Explorer had like almost 100% of the market share. And because of that, Microsoft is really saying where the web was going to go. They were really had to say what languages it was going to be used and what the building blocks were. And they were keeping that a little bit closed. So a group came together, Mozilla, Netscape released their code. They said that, no, the web should be for the people. This should be a public resource. Anyone should know what the guts are for the web and be able to use it, and it should be open. So they opened that up, and that's why we have Mozilla and Firefox today. I didn't make slides for this story, but it's really at the core of who we are and at our DNA. So that's why we care a lot about openness. And we have a sprint coming up this week. Elaine is very excited. So the Mozilla Global Sprint, it's a 2-day hackathon where you just work on open projects for 2 days. It's global because there are about 60 sites all around the world, from Australia to like 3 of them here in Toronto, which is a lot of sites in one city. But it's really cool because it starts in like Australia and New Zealand, where they wake up, they work for a few hours, and they sort of pass it on to Asia, then Europe, and then it comes around, and it goes around the world twice. And we have a video link open at all the sites. Whoa, water. But yeah, so this is a good time to just work on open projects. If you're interested in working on an open project, there's a bunch of them here that we explicitly made very inviting, so you can come and work on them. And I think you're working on library carpentry stuff. Yeah, so that's pretty exciting. It's like teaching librarians how to code. Is that a good thing? Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'll be at the Toronto office 1 if you want to hang out with me for 2 days. You can pick one of the other sites if you don't want to hang out with me for 2 days. But it's up there. And thank you. I liked the skip because it's a robot doing things. Okay. And there's a bunch of references here. There's a lot of articles where I took stories from and took slides from. But yeah, did you have any questions or comments? I did want to make this, I left some time for conversation. But yeah, if anyone has any questions or comments. Okay, we'll talk then.